210c1 Bhashya.
शोकमोहाभ्यां हि अभिभूतविवेकविज्ञानः स्वत एव क्षात्रधर्मे युद्धे प्रवृत्तः अपि तस्मात् युद्धाद् उपरराम परधर्मं च भिक्षाजीवनादिकं कर्तुं प्रववृते.
Translation. Though by nature involved in the activities of warfare following the dharma of a Kshatriya, Arjuna refrained from fighting that war. His discrimination overpowered indeed by sorrow and delusion, and moreover set himself to begin activities like living on alms, which are the dharma of others, not of Kshatriyas. 210c2 Explanation. The Viveka Vijnana or discriminative intellect of Arjuna has been overpowered by Shoka and Moha. We have to note here that Shoka Moha cannot eliminate the discriminative intellect. They can only suppress it. The moment they are removed, the intellect will shine forth. This is an important principle that is demonstrated in the Gita. With his discrimination thus subjugated, Arjuna desisted from his natural Kshatriya duty of fighting a righteous war. Not only did he forget his own duty, but also started thinking of taking up begging and living on alms, which is the way of life of a mendicant or sannyasi, not of a Kshatriya. A question might arise here. Is a Kshatriya prohibited from taking up sannyasa? The answer is no. A Kshatriya, or anyone for that matter, can take up sannyasa, but that is when the guna structure in him undergoes changes. See para 4.5.7 and 4.5.8 of the first volume for a brief description of the origin of the four castes and the role of the gunas in it. Here, nothing like that has happened. In fact, after listening to the teachings of Gita, Arjuna took up arms again and went into battle. Arjuna's intellect was only under a cloud. Without the discriminative intellect, no one can reach any height, not least the height of sannyasa. 210d1 Bhashya.
सर्वप्राणिनां शोकमोहादिदोषाविष्टचेतसां स्वभावतः एव स्वधर्मपरित्यागः प्रतिषिद्धसेवा च स्यात्. स्वधर्मे प्रवृत्तानाम् अपि तेषां वाङ्मनकायादीनां प्रवृत्तिः फलाभिसन्धिपूर्विका एव साहङ्कारा च भवति.
Translation. Similarly, all those whose intellects are afflicted by the defects like sorrow, delusion, etc., would, as a matter of course, renounce their duty and take up the duties prohibited for them. Even if they perform their duty, the actions they do with their words, mind, and body will definitely be with the sense of ego and expectation. 210d2 Explanation. Shankaracharya makes Arjuna's situation a general principle applicable to all. He adds the word adi or etc. to Shoka Moha to remind us that there are other defects that afflict us, like anger, desire, etc. Whoever coming under their grip will lose his power of discriminating between right and wrong. Under their influence, he forgets his real role and does something he ought not to be doing. Even if he does his duty, he will do it with selfish motives. The thoughts, I do this and the result will benefit me, are his constant companions. And because of that, the actions he performs bind him more and more to his karma. 210e1 Bhashya.
तत्र एवं सति धर्माधर्मोपचयाद् इष्टानिष्टजन्मसुखदुःखसम्प्राप्तिलक्षणः संसारः अनुपरतः भवति इत्यतः संसारबीजभूतौ शोकमोहौ.
Translation. Such being the case, owing to the accumulation of merit and demerit, that is dharma and adharma, samsara, which consists of passing through good and bad births, happiness and misery, will follow incessantly. Thus the root cause of samsara is sorrow and delusion, shoka and moha. 210E2 explanation. The Acharya concludes his argument begun in the first sentence and establishes that shoka and moha are at the root of the cycle of births and deaths. They make us forsake our dharma. Even if we do our duty, they make us do it with the feeling of I and for me. The desire for the result of actions creates further bondage. The deeds we do may be good or bad. Whatever their nature, the deeds lead us to dualities like pleasure and pain and leave impressions or vasana in our psyche. These vasanas make us do more deeds, which in turn gather more vasanas. The vasanas do not get exhausted in one life. We carry them forward and are born again for a vasana catharsis. But instead of exhausting them, the deeds we do make us accumulate more vasanas. This cycle goes on. The good deeds may lead us to a birth we like, and the bad deeds to one we do not like. But there is no escape from this samsara so long as we yield to shoka and moha. The only way out is to be steadfast in the contemplation of the self. For the one who has realized the self, there is no samsara. Veda vouchsafes this, says Ishavasya Upanishad in Mantra 7. Yasmin sarvani bhudanyatmaiva bhud vijanita tatra ko moha ko shokaha egatva manupashyadaha. When to the realized one, all beings have become one in his own self, Atman, how shall he feel deluded thereafter? What grief can there be to him who sees oneness everywhere? 210F1 Bhashya.
तयोः च सर्वकर्मसन्न्यासपूर्वकाद् आत्मज्ञानाद् न अन्यतः निवृत्तिः इति तदुपदिदिक्षुः सर्वलोकानुग्रहार्थम् अर्जुनं निमित्तीकृत्य आह भगवान् वासुदेवः अशोच्यान् इत्यादि.
Translation. The release from this is possible by nothing other than the knowledge of the self that follows the renunciation of all action. Desirous of imparting this instruction for the benefit of the entire world, Bhagavan Vasudeva spoke the shlokas beginning Ashocyan, that is shloka 211, keeping Arjuna as a front. 210F2 Explanation. There is only one way out of this cycle, realization of the self. Moksha comes about only by realizing the eternal and the ultimate principle that is the self. No karma or action, temporal or spiritual, can bring this about. Even spiritual actions like prayer, worship, or Vedic rituals are done with the feeling of I and for my benefit. Therefore, the ultimate knowledge cannot come out of that. That can come only through renunciation. This core teaching needs a detailed explanation which would come later. It is for the benefit of the entire humanity that Bhagavan imparts this instruction starting from Shloka 211 beginning Ashocyan Anyashocastvam. Arjuna is the nimitta or the instrument. Keeping him as the front, Sri Krishna teaches each and every one of us.